Welcome, welcome. As I was introduced, I'm Anthony Passmart. I'm the general manager at AWS on the creative tools side. I'm super excited to be here with you. This has been an incredible show for me. It was the first time I came to SIGGRAPH actually in person, so that was great. Lots of good conversation, lots of good dinners and drinks. I don't know about you, but I feel a little tired this morning. But I hope you'll be awake for that day. That whole day, we're hosting that innovator sessions. We have great speakers coming in, great panels. Animal Logic, Praymaker, NVIDIA, Wacom, Framestore, NVIDIA, and it's a great day. And probably get comfortable in your seats because it's probably going to be spending quite some time in this room, I hope, because this is such an interesting day. So welcome again. At AWS, as you know, we're providing solutions for the media and entertainment industry. We have 5 main kind of mission critical pillars we're going after. The content production, of course, that we're going to spend more time on. The media and supply chain archiving, broadcasting, direct to consumer and streaming, and the last one is data science and analytics. So those 5 pillars, through those 5 pillars, we offer 9 dedicated services, 11 solutions, and we actually have over 400 AWS partners to support the solutions. So quite a lot of investment in the media and entertainment industry. It's really great to be able to help creators, help broadcasters, content producer to actually build and use the cloud to create more content for everybody to enjoy. It's really all about time to value with the cloud. And today we're going to spend more time on the content production side. That's why we're here at SIGGRAPH, is to create more content. And so it's really exciting to see what we have. So as I said, I own the creative tools business unit, if you will. And in creative tools, we have 3 major businesses. One, we started in actually 2017 with an acquisition of a company called ThinkBox. You probably know it. They're lighthouse products at Deadline, but there are other 3D tools within ThinkBox. That was the start of kind of that creative tools initiative. In 2019, we acquired another company called Nimble Collective, which was about a studio in the cloud, really enabling virtual workstation and workflows all in the cloud for studios that wanted to modernize the way they're building content. And we also have a third little group. It's a creative studio internal to us called Fuzzy Pixel. They've done quite a lot of content. They are customer zero in every technology we're building. And we're going to talk a lot about that. So today we're going to see several sessions. In fact, the Fuzzy Pixel's presenting Pichu at the end of the day, and Maru is going to show that. You're going to hear about some of the rendering capabilities and Deadline usage from some of the other customers, and some of the Nimble Studio usage as well, and just actually right after me by Animal Logic. So super interesting to see that. But before we dive into the 3 groups, I wanted to show you a little sizzle reel if you haven't seen it around, because we've been projecting it quite a lot. But let's look at what our customers are doing with our creative tools. I don't know if you noticed the turtle flying. I don't know if you noticed her face or his face. I don't know if it's male or female, but the joy in that flight. It's kind of awesome to see. I'm a big movie buff. I love watching this. I love watching every movie that you guys are actually creating. So it's a joy for me to be here. So let's talk a bit about Nimble Studio. Nimble Studio is really, it's a service to help studios build and operate studios in the cloud. It's all about enabling you to spin up those studios, do your work, enable artists across the world to access your content, create content in a very simplified way. Nimble Studio offers virtual workstations, the GeForce workstation, the GPU-based workstation that you're maybe familiar with. It offers cloud rendering with the ThinkBox deadline in particular, and shared storage for all those, and then environment with a secure environment around it to have all those workstations access the file storage and be able to collaborate in the cloud. You can deploy Nimble Studio fairly quickly in a few hours and get up and running to start producing content. We're not enforcing any kind of tools. You can use your Maya, your Houdini, your Blender, whatever you want to use in there for your needs and your pipeline. It's really about creating the environment for your artists to collaborate and bring in new artists very, very easily with a simple email if you want. Nimble Studio has been extremely focused. We are focused on animation, VFX, and interactive content, which is mostly games. It's been a purpose focus for Nimble Studio. That's what we want to do. The people we hire, the team we have, comes from that industry, comes from VFX and animation, and that's what we're really trying to solve for. So we're talking to a lot of companies, partners, and customers here at SIGGRAPH and before about how do we solve the animation and VFX pipeline in the cloud, and it's really what we're focusing on. So it's important for you to realize that, because a lot of people do studios in the cloud. It's not necessarily, it's much harder than it looks, and we're hoping to simplify that for you. So Nimble Studio launched in April last year. So it's a fairly recent addition to our portfolio. And if you've tried Nimble Studio last year when it launched, a lot has evolved in the product. We've had a lot of feedback, a lot of customers ramping up on it, giving us data on how to improve the product, how to make it better. Dozens of improvements, but I'll focus just on 3 of them because those were pretty critical. When we launched Nimble Studio, the workstations were ephemeral. That means that we thought, if an artist has a task, they'll click that task, we'll launch a workstation with the right set of DCC, with the right assets in there, and they're going to do their work and shut down the workstation at the end. The downside of that is any change to workstation was not preserved. It would take about 20-25 minutes to start up a workstation, even though we added APIs to start that earlier. Wasn't really what our customers were asking for. So we created persistent workstation where you spin up the workstation in the morning and then it is your workstation. You can add software, you can add scripts, you can download builds, you can do whatever changes you want. That station remains persistent. You stop it at the end of the day, you stop paying for its usage, you only pay for what you use. And the next day you restart in less than 2 minutes and keep going with your work. That was a drastic change in how you handle workstation in your environment. But that really enables new use cases. For example, in gaming, if you have an Unreal build and you're downloading a big build, you don't want to have to redo that every morning when you start working. With Persistent Workstation, we solved that. So that opened up a lot of possibilities for our customers. The suborg deployment was more a nitty-gritty in how you deploy Nimble. We have customers that were not AWS customers. It was fine. They would just create an AWS org, deploy Nimble in there, perfect. But if you already had an infrastructure with a master org and some suborgs for your business units, you couldn't really deploy Nimble outside of your master AWS account. That was a bit of a problem from a security paradigm standpoint. So we wanted to make sure that we align with your deployments of AWS and how you manage the security and access controls in your orgs. And so now you can deploy Nimble Studio in a suborg of your master org. That was a big change, mostly for larger AWS customers. And one big announcement we made this week, actually we launched that just last week, was the addition of more G-types instances. I mentioned earlier when in Nimble Studio launch, it was G4 instances. G4s are great. They're kind of in that middle ground of high performance, good price. But sometimes you want even more performance. And we launched the G5s earlier this year, I think. The G5s are really, really powerful machines. Now you can bring those G5s into your Nimble Studio if you want to do a big Unreal scene. Bring a G5 in. If you want to do something that you want a little cost-effective, still want some GPU, more cost-effective machine, bring a G3 now into your Nimble Studio. And so you have access to the entire G series, so the G3s, G4s, and G5, and bring them in the Nimble Studio. That was a big improvement. Those 3 are kind of very significant. They changed the way you work with Nimble Studio. There was a lot more improvement that we did in Nimble Studio. For example, we opened up the LA local zone. So if you're in LA, the latency is super, super low, and that's actually a very very popular zone for our customers. We opened in Japan as well. We're in Sydney already. We're in London. We're in Canada, in the US as well. So we're starting to deploy Nimble Studio across the world to make sure that you can bring those artists in areas that are close and the latency is very, very low for them to access those workstations. We added Amazon FSx for Lustre support. We added better session management. You can choose your own render farm. You're not tied when you deploy Nimble Studio to deadline if that's not what you want. We added the ability to upload files via the nice DCV streaming protocol. That allows artists to just know they need a little image and a little asset. You can just do that through the client. Very easy. We redesigned the console a few times, making improvements in how it works. One that I hesitated to put up there is the IAM seamless integration. That's something that we launched fairly recently, where you can tie an IAM profile to a user and give that launch profile access to other resources in your AWS environment. So through the launch profile, you can say that artist, it's tied to that IAM, and then you can access whatever you want in the backend, integrating Nimble Studio more into the rest of your AWS deployment. And we've done a lot of performance improvements, management tools, debugging tools, session management, things like that we added to the product. If you want to see all of that, we created a pretty nice booth. It was really interesting. What we tried to do at the booth is replicate an entire end-to-end pipeline from the art department, the visual effects and animation department, the rendering department, and an editorial and color grading department. And so if you go to the booth, you will have people who are actually from the Fuzzy Pixel team who are doing some work day in, day out with Nimble Workstation, with Blender, DCC, Nuke, whatever tools they're using. And you will see what they've done. They can explain to you how it works, how Nimble works, how to manage those workstations in the cloud. Everything at the booth runs on Nimble right now, so you can see it in action live. So that's really interesting. When you're done with all those workstations, you have a kind of a genius bar thing, an expert, Ask the Expert booth, where you can go and ask more questions to all the solution architects that are there to help you. So you really can see all of the use cases and get more knowledge. The other thing we've done is virtual production. My team is also in charge of building solutions for virtual production. It's a big trend we're seeing, very important to us. And what we've done a virtual production photogrammetry pipeline on the booth. And what we tried to show you is you can have a remote virtual workstation stage somewhere else. So at the end of the hall, you have our virtual production wall, a LED wall that's wirelessly connected with the main booth. You're going to go there, you're going to scan a little car with your phone, a 3D scan. It's going to go through a photogrammetry pipeline, land in Unreal, be thrown over there to the LED wall. You'll show that all that LED wall display with the camera and the false film going on flies back into the booth for you to see for review, or if you want to see what's going on there. So we really tried to show you how virtual projection can be done actually remotely with the production, the content production somewhere, the actual shooting of the wall somewhere else, and that closed loop. Really cool. You can go play it out. Obviously, we couldn't do that on our own. We do that with partners. Fathead was a big partner for us for the virtual production, but we have NVIDIA, Autodesk, Trackit is a system integrator that's in there. We're really thriving to bring more and more partners, either on the ISV side or the system integrator side, to help our customers do more with the cloud. So most of them have a little presence on the booth, so you can talk to any of them. So that's on the Nimble Studio side. On the rendering side, I touched on the G5s. There's two sides of rendering. There's really the real-time rendering and the batch rendering. In real time, now with the G5s, you can really get access to extremely high power. The G5 workstation can have up to 8 GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs in there. So if you want to run a big Unreal workload, like a big scene, that's probably what you're going to go after. You can also get access to 100 gigabytes per second in bandwidth from that workstation. That's really, really high. So if you have those big builds or those large assets close to the virtual workstation in the cloud, that's going to be really, really fast. Much better than downloading it on-prem. Those G5s are 3 times the power, the graphical power than the G4. So that's really a massive improvements over what we had in the G4s. And so you really want to right-size the use of the G series to your artist. So, and as I said, you only pay for what you use. So if they need that G5 for a couple of days, and then they kind of go back into G4, you're going to be able to do that very, very easily with Nimble. On the batch side, you probably know ThinkBox Deadline has been used by hundreds and hundreds of customers to do some rendering. A lot of the sizzle reel has been done with ThinkBox Deadline. We keep investing in the product. We keep adding, fixing bugs if we found any, but really adding more feature, more support. In the 10.1.22, we added support for 3ds Max 23, Maya 23, Cinema 4D, Adobe Media Encoder. That's a very popular render. So we keep adding and making sure that Deadline is supporting all the tools that you need, all the render engine that you need as much as possible. And now we're just releasing the 10.1.23, which comes with a very interesting announcement. I'm really happy today to announce that all the AWS ThinkBox tools are now free. I'm going to pause. Yes? No? Is that cool? Yeah. OK. So they're all free. If you've used any of those tools, all those tools here are now free. So if you've used that, you were sometimes struggling getting licenses, or you have a time crunch and you don't have enough license to do a big render, you have to go get more license. That was a problem. It was a problem for us, to be honest. It was kind of hard to manage and maintain. It was a pain for our customers. They didn't like it. So we thought, let's make sure you can create more content with Deadline more easily. And so we removed that friction. So in 10.1.23, no more license check. You just deploy it, and you can run it on-prem, in the cloud, wherever you want. It is free to use. So that's really a great improvement. We know that some of you are not in the latest version of Deadline and don't want to upgrade to the latest version of Deadline. So we also anticipated that. And if you have an older version in your pipeline that you don't want to change, you can now go in the AWS console and self-serve licenses. That's free. You just go in there and download whatever licenses you want. They're free also, but you still use those licenses. But at least no friction anymore. And so I hope you're going to be able to create way more content with Deadline with that. We're super excited about it. So it's really a good improvement. So we're at 9:18. So I think I have a new announcement to make. It was barred until 3 minutes ago. So now I'm good. We're announcing very coming soon Amazon File Cache. And File Cache is the way to create a cloud cache for your file system to be able to bring the files you need from hybrid deployment, either on-prem or in the cloud, close to the compute where it needs to be. And that file cache, you just create your cache, link it to your on-prem file system, or link it to other file system in the cloud, and will automatically manage that transfer of data to bring it very close to the compute, some millisecond latency, very high, hundreds of gigabytes of bandwidth per second for throughputs, and really allow you to get that power and that easy synchronization of data between where the compute needs to be and where your data lives. You can also send back that data to your on-prem if you need to. There's different modes for doing that. So I hope this is exciting for you. This is something that we've kept hearing, from many customers. How do you manage hybrid? How do you manage the fact that I have my data on-prem and the compute is in the cloud? How do you transfer files intelligently? That's what Amazon File Cache is going to do for you. It's coming very soon, I think before the end of the year. And so we're really excited about this announcement. You're probably going to hear more in blogs and press, I guess, because it's just been announced 3 minutes ago. So here you go. So we've talked about Amazon Nimble Studio, and all the improvements we've made there. We talked about rendering and all the improvements, the free Deadline. And let's talk about Fuzzy Pixel. So Fuzzy Pixel is our internal in-house production team. It's a small team, part of Creative Tools. When we build our tools, we really wanted to make sure that the technology choices, the priority we put for our features are tied to an actual end-to-end production. And so Fuzzy Pixel is a group of industry veterans. They come from DreamWorks, Weta, Atomic Fiction, ILM, and other studios. They're dozens of years of experience. They've worked on some of the biggest movies you've probably seen and enjoyed. And so they're really there to create very high-end content from sketch to delivery with the tools that we're building. So they're the guinea pigs too. So they're really going through some pain as well. But that's the goal. It's to really learn how does a studio create content from end to end, and how do we build tools for them to actually, before it's released to the public, right? So Fuzzy Pixel last year did a project called Spanner. It was a little short with some great characters, some great hair simulation, cloud simulation, some fancy rigging on air bridges above the clouds. It was really, really high end. Their goal there was to test actually working in the cloud. It was before Nimble Studio was relaunched. They were really building that end-to-end show in the cloud. You can find it. There's a tiny URL here, Spanner AWS. Please go see it. It's very, very cool. And the idea was really to test out working in the cloud. This year, Nimble Studio was there, so they were trying to do something else. And the idea this year was to do a new project, and that project is actually a launch we've done at this event. It's called Pichu. Amaru Zia has a session at 4:30 today here in this room, and talk about how, as a writer and director of Pichu, they've been able to do this movie. Pichu is a great story first. It's all about an Ecuadorian little girl in the Andes trying to go to school and overcoming obstacles as she's going there and remembering the help she had from her mom. And so she's going through that. The quality of the work, the visuals, all the render, the lights, the decor has been very respectful of the culture of that region. The music comes from there. The Spanish accents comes from it. It's actually in Spanish. All the plants, everything has been respectful of the culture of that area. And it's really, really fascinating as a story. So I invite you to watch it. There's also a tiny URL at the bottom here, a tiny URL, AWS Pichu. Go watch it. Watch it in 4K if you can. That's really high quality. It's really nice. And so Fuzzy Pixel did that end-to-end again from sketch to delivery today, this week. And the idea there was to test two different things. One was to test out a little bit more of the distributed cloud infrastructure. So the Fuzzy Pixel had 3 sites that they had to deal with. And how does that work with Nimble? How did they collaborate through those 3 sites? They also had an entirely distributed workforce. Everybody was remote. Even when they scaled up for the animators or the compositor at the end of the project, everybody was remote for the entire time of the project. So that was the challenge. And we wanted to see what friction they were getting doing that. That was one big challenge. The other big challenge is we wanted to test out more open source. A lot of announcements around open source lately. And this project, a lot of those artists are Maya experts. And normally in animation, that's probably what you would be using. We said, no, let's try something else. So they did that entire project mostly, not 100%, but mostly on Blender. And so that was a big challenge. They had to learn Blender, and they really had to push Blender to see if they could actually deliver a very high quality movie out of Blender. And so that's what they've done. It was a very good learning experience. Actually, Blender's pretty good. We gave a lot of feedback to the Blender Foundation that we support. And so it was a 2 challenge. You'll learn more. There's a panel. There's Amaru at the end. There's a panel today on that. So hopefully you'll enjoy. We're really excited to have artists working with our tools, creating great content. We're really excited to have you create more content with our tools. And hopefully you'll embrace the cloud and get access to the cloud with Nimble Studio, render more with Deadline, and get inspiration from our Fuzzy Pixel team and Pichu. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the day. Really great sessions coming right after me and throughout the day. So I hope you had fun, and thank you.